Hello, hello. Good morning. Happy Sunday, everyone. It's saying that I'm live right now. It is 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, February 3rd. Happy Super Bowl Sunday for those of you who are American football fans. I'm just going to take one little moment to go ahead and make sure that everything is working with this YouTube stream before I begin. Little moment. Yeah, we are. Okay, we're totally in. Great. Okay, so I'm now, okay, so I'm seeing there's 32 of you right now. Excellent. Okay, so it looks like people are popping on. Oh, and there's a chat. Okay, good. Okay, so sorry, you guys. I'm like a little bit all over the place this morning. As you saw, like usually I start this 15 minutes early, but I was like, you know what? We don't really need to like start super early. So, oh, Tasia is in an ER right now. So I hope you're doing do better soon. I hope it's whatever it is, it's not too serious. And everyone send their well wishes and love to Tasia. But you guys will be able to get a replay for this. But I do really believe that it is so important that we actually carve out this time to sit and just do this planning, because it is such a simple yet fundamental part of our week. And I feel like it's so easy for us. I mean, seriously, like show of hands, like in the comments, how many of you have said, okay, you know what? I know I need to do this. I'm going to do it later, right? I'll watch the replay or whatnot. And then you don't prioritize it, right? Like I actually really think sometimes that when we put that in our head, there are some people absolutely who they say when they're going to do something later, they are going to do it later. There's definitely those types out there. I'm sometimes that type. I'm sometimes not that type. But I think for more of you probably in this community, there are probably more of you who say, I'm going to do something later and then don't get to it. So it's really important then for us to really prioritize and schedule things in that'll really have such a benefit. And I hope that you guys understand that, like on a fundamental level, that taking just like 15, 20, 30 minutes to plan your month ahead and your week ahead can do so much for lowering your stress, reducing anxiety, making you feel like you've got a plan, have, you know, an idea for what the next thing is going to be on your list once you have a free moment and you finish the task that you've already done. So I hope that many of you guys can understand that. And so you see why it's so important for me, like when I schedule these, and I know I don't do these enough, and I really do want to do these sorts of live classes more often. I do think it's so important that we carve out the time and make it happen, because how often do you really carve out the time for something this small that can have an impact for you for the next 30 days, or I guess we're in February, so it's 28 days, but we're already 3 days in, but I think you guys get what I mean. So I'm just going to quickly say hello to people. I do have a presentation to share with you guys. It's my monthly review presentation, and we'll go through the presentation, and I will be planning along with you. We're going to walk through my monthly planning process. And yeah, then we're just going to chat, I guess, if anyone has questions. So hello, Stephanie, Teresa, Mariana. Oh, lots of them just came in. Whoa, okay. So I feel like my computer was like paused. Serena, Edie, Jess, Fanny from Scotland, Teresa, Katrine, Jocelyn, Melinda, Shalise, Marcy. I think it's so funny. Like so many of you, I don't think you guys know this. So many of you, I know who you are. Like I know you via the internet because I've seen like Shalise Hemby. I know you because I've seen you so many times come to different things. And I really appreciate you guys who come with me and stick with me to do these sorts of activities. You know, not on like too much of a regular basis, but my hope is that by doing this, it kind of shows you how easy the process can be and how quick it can be. I realize a class is going to be a little bit longer than it would be if I was just sitting here planning my month, but then it hopefully gets you in the routine for doing this. So Marcy, Karen, time for primping. Hello, Jess. Again, okay, there's just the same Jess. Angel, Susanna, Lakeisha, Amy, Tanya, just dropped the cupcake. Another Karen, Kiki, Linda, Cindy, and April. Hello. Welcome. Okay, so if you are watching the replay, I think what I'm going to end up doing is probably having to put a timestamp down below for when we actually start the planning. But if you're watching the replay, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Like those who were able to make it live, you are giving yourself a gift right now. Honestly, I firmly believe this. By sitting and planning for a little bit for your month ahead, you're going to make your month so much easier. So I think the way I did this last time, I'm just going to go into full mode. And, oh, no, let's do it. I think you guys liked it when I was able to, I think if I answer questions as we go along, that might be better. Okay. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to share my screen. But this is like the roundabout way that I do this. You guys are going to see me and you're going to see my screen in just a moment. I haven't gotten there yet. You're going to see the presentation. Can I minimize that a little bit? Presentation. Oops. What have you just done? Okay. I zoom a little fit slide. There. Good. Okay. So not ideal, but better than nothing. And I want to share my screen with you guys. And I'll also be able to see your comments because I like for you guys to be able to see me. And I like for me to be able to see the chat. And there we go. I think that will work. I think so. And then I'll put you guys to share the screen right now. Okay. We'll make this work. Sharing desktop. Okay. So I'm presenting to everyone now. If you go, as soon as you guys can see my screen, let me know. Okay, so I think I've got the chat right there and I'm able to move it. Okay, this is good. And you guys should be able to see this is the presentation here. And if someone could just let me know if they see it. But I think we're probably good. Let me see if I scroll up, do I see this? Oh, I do, I see my own screen. Okay, I know I'm good then, okay. You guys can see it, good, okay, excellent, okay. Okay, so thank you for joining me for this plan with me for February of 2019. Hosted by me, Alexis, also known as MissTrenchcoat. If you guys are not following me on Instagram, I highly recommend following me on Instagram at MissTrenchcoat because I give you guys a lot of updates there and share videos and share a lot of different behind the scenes of my life and business that I just because of time's sake with filming and everything, it's just not possible right now for me to share on YouTube. So if you want to get more of my tips and kind of like my lifestyle, and I share recipes and things that I'm eating and stuff over on Instagram, definitely follow me at MissTrenchcoat on Instagram. Okay, so next thing for this monthly review process is planning tools. So what planning tools will you need for today's class? So you will need a planner. I'm using my 2019 master planner, but you can also get, if you don't have a planner that you're using right now, or you're not sure, or you really want to follow along with what I'm doing exactly, like my system, there is a link down in my description box of this video for the productivity toolbox. You can sign up with your email and you'll get a link. You'll be like transferred over to download that. And it has sample spreads of a majority of what's in here. It's not one for one, but a lot of the spreads that I'm going to be using today are going to be in here. So definitely, if you don't have a planner, if you're not feeling planner peace or confidence in your system, consider just a trial, free for you to try out if you're not someone who's already using a master planner, etc. Also, a notebook would be fine as well. I have a firm belief, actually, we'll get into this in a future video, that I think that you can use a regular notebook as a planner and do just fine. So if that's all you've got, a notebook is fine as well. And you will want some note pages even though you're working in a planner today, because we are going to be doing some monthly review questions. So I have my auxiliary binder here that I will be giving you guys one of these days a walkthrough of my auxiliary binder. It's just a clear binder I've got that keeps extra notes and my tickler file system, 43 folders sort of system, if you're familiar with that. If you're not, you can search MissTrenchcoat 43 folders and you'll kind of get up to speed on that one. But I'm just going to go and probably use the note pages in here because although I do have a note section in my planner, these aren't notes that I would want to keep in my planner like permanently. This is just like a monthly review thing. So also get yourself a drink. If you don't have a drink, I have my green juice and a seltzer water to wash down the green juice, because sometimes this is a little chunky and I don't want green stuff in my teeth as I'm presenting. So someone asked in the comments, and this is a very common question I get, can my inserts be sized for the Happy Planner? The Happy Planner does not work. My planner inserts work on Filofax Personal, half letter or A5, and then full letter or A4 sheets. I have, and I know there's several varieties of Happy Planner that do not work with those traditional letter sizes. So I have heard that there have been people in my community who have bought my inserts and have managed somehow to print them out to fit their Happy Planner. I would assume that it's my A4 full letter inserts that they're able to do that with. So I'm not, the answer is I would not tell anybody who has a Happy Planner, go ahead and buy my inserts. I know there's people who have finagled it, like have made it work. But yeah, the Happy Planner just doesn't use, they have like a proprietary sizing, basically. That's different than like I use regular letter sizes and things like that. So, okay. So starting with our monthly review, we're going to start with a set of questions that I like to ask myself at the start of every month in order to process the month that has passed and to properly plan the month ahead of me. Also, just want to say it's 11:11 a.m. Lucky numbers. Woohoo. Okay, so step one is the monthly review questions. So here are the questions, and I would recommend writing these down and answering them in your planner. You might just want to keep these questions. And if you think of any other questions that you think pertain to your life, absolutely add them to this list and feel free to share them with others in the comments. Because I do think that, everyone's lives are different and that their priorities are different. So these questions will maybe more reflect a general, these are kind of just like general questions that I think would be good for many people to answer. But if you have more or you have different questions, feel free to share them. Definitely apply them and add them to the list of questions you will ask yourself when you're doing your monthly planning. So the first question here is, what victories or accomplishments did you achieve in the previous month? So if you're watching this with me live in February and January, what did you achieve? Think about this in terms of goals or projects that have been successfully completed. Okay, so if you had a project for January that you were working on, did you get it done? If you had some goals that you've been working on for a while and they were completed in January, what did you accomplish in January? Also think about things like life events and milestones, right? Did you have a baby? Did you get married? Did your child have a baby and now you're a grandparent? Did you graduate from college? Did you win some sort of personal award or achievement at work? What sort of things happened to you that are worth celebrating for the month behind us that we just exited? And then, of course, number 3, just big happy memories. Did you have maybe a family birthday party that was great, a holiday celebration that was wonderful? I know yesterday, this was in January, but yesterday, I don't know if you guys can see behind me in my house, there's still decorations left over from, I hosted a birthday brunch for one of my besties yesterday at my house. And, that would be something that at least for February would be like a big happy memory milestone. Now, I realize that when it comes to the planner community, a lot of people like to use planners or have a planner for memory keeping. So this maybe would be a place you'd maybe put that. But I also think it's just really good to remember and recognize things that happened. I tend to keep my planners year after year. If you saw my 2019 planner setup, you guys know that I keep my planners, most of them. And so I will occasionally look through them and use them as memory keeping, even though I'm not someone who formally scrapbooks or anything like that. So I just think it's great to have those things. So if you just take a moment now, list out your goals that you hit or projects that were successfully completed. And I'm going to also do this as well. And I will say for you guys, one thing that happened that I think I definitely can share. I'm trying to think right now. Oh, I should look at my planner for this too, because my planner will show me what I've done. But one thing I'm super just psyched about is I read 8 books in January. Last January, I did 6 books, and that's not typical for me to read 6 to 8 books in a month, but last January, I read 6 books, or listened to, most of them are books on tape. Yeah, I think all of them are, yeah. So I listened to 8 books on tape in January. Very pleased about that. I was, for some reason, getting competitive with myself for last year's number for no apparent reason, but it feels fun, you know, when you hit even like an arbitrary thing like that, you know, like I finished 8 books. It's exciting. So I'm definitely writing that down. And then review my planner to see what else I did. It's like, do anyone else like feel like you get to the new month or whatever, you get, even for me, like I sometimes can't remember something I did yesterday. You know, it could be like, everyone would be like, Alexis, oh my God, congrats on yesterday. What was yesterday? I can't even remember, you know? So I'm just like so forward oriented, I feel like, that I sometimes don't stop to like savor the wins. Okay, so definitely another win for me for sure was that I hit a goal that is like an ongoing project of mine of 1 video a week on YouTube. Oops, sorry, you guys are like on a little pedestal stand thingy. So if I hit you on, I apologize. Oh, I also got back on IG, on Instagram. I'm back on like posting actual posts, not just onto my Instagram story. Who follows me on Instagram has been seeing my like oracles that I've been doing, the productivity oracle and the self-care oracle. I'd love to know what you guys think. I've gotten a lot of messages about them, but if you guys haven't seen them, I think it's the cutest thing in the world. I don't know. I'm just like obsessed with, like, I just like the idea of like an oracle, right? Like all these different options. And so many people have messaged me and been like, oh my God, the thing that the oracle told me was exactly what I needed to hear. And I think that's really awesome. Linda says, definitely the past sort of dissolves in my brain. Because, you know, the truth is like, there is no such thing as the past. There is no such thing as the future. There is only right now. Serena says, theirs are really cool. Yeah, I think I just think it's so cool. And I've been coming back to like Instagram in terms of trying to create more unique content, I guess. I think that's what ended up happening with me. It was like my feed turned into being the same feed everyone else is doing, you know, like pictures of my planner, you know, maybe something I did, you know, maybe something for my business. And I really, you know, it gets boring after a while. Like I've been on Instagram since, I really don't remember. I'm pretty sure 2013. It's possible it was 2012. I've been on Instagram for a long time. So it's like, just like being on YouTube, I just hit my 10-year YouTube anniversary last month. And it's like, no wonder I kind of burnt out over the last couple of years. Because, you know, doing something for like 10 years straight, like several years straight, it takes a lot out of you to like create on a regular basis. So Kit is saying, what is the oracle on Instagram? So if you go to my Instagram account at MissTrenchcoat, I have some posts that are, there's one that is, they're videos, right? So if you see the 2 videos that are in my latest kind of on my profile, on my feed, they are oracles in terms of, yeah, I'll pull one up. Actually, let me just pull up the video kind of so you can see. On my phone, maybe the original video might be better to see than you the original video? Yes, there you are, friend. Okay. So I'll put the music on too. So basically it's a post that looks like this. Hopefully you guys can see that. And it's like a lot of different productivity advice. Like this took me a while to put together. Like this is like a little mini feed of itself to put something like this together and like edit it. But essentially what you do is you watch this oracle and then take a screenshot and then it gives you advice. So I'll just do it real quick. What is my productivity oracle? What is my advice for today? What do I need to know today to be most productive? Okay, so you take a screenshot. Let me pause the music. And then what happens is a picture, you've got a picture, oh, saved photos on. I now have a picture on my phone of the advice, okay? Ooh, okay, this is a good one for me because I'm bad at this. It says, ask for help from those around you. You don't have to do this alone. So that was my advice. So basically it rolls through a bunch of advice that just so fast you can't read it, and then you screenshot it. It's almost like a magic 8-ball, I see a lot of times like people who, if you're like into like astrology and horoscopes, there's a lot of people who do like astrology and stuff like that who make things like this. I've seen them and this is where that concept came from. So I totally didn't come up with it. I just thought it was genius. I'm like, I need to do this for productivity. And I also did one for self-care for February. So, you know, February is a very self-love month or, you know, love in general month. So you know, my twist is make that self-care. So I've got a self-care workflow. So yeah. Okay, so what else did I do? Oh, I completed a funnel, sales funnel for my business. Okay, I think that's good. Oh, I was also really good with my habits and stuff, but I think I have a question about that coming up. Okay. So next, I think for now, I think we've got a good start here. So we're going to move on. Next question is, what planned tasks did you fail to start or were left incomplete last month? So again, things like goals and projects, scheduled events, habits, or routines. So things that you wanted to do, right? Planned out to do, maybe wrote it on your monthly task list and you didn't get it done. I have plenty of things like that on my list. In fact, though, I got to go through because I have to check off some things too. Okay. So I'm just going to highlight these things here. I'm just going to write them down. So I just have some like systems I was supposed to clean up. I want to get them cleaned up and organized for the new year. Didn't get done. Okay. So yeah, I definitely have, you guys think I'm super productive. I definitely am someone who's effective. Like I know where to put my energy to get like the most bang for my buck, but I don't get everything done on my to-do list. There's like a lot on my monthly task list that didn't, even if it got started, it didn't get completed to like my satisfaction. There's a fair amount of things on here actually, but I still think I actually had a really great month. So yeah. Because I feel like the most important things got done. And I think that's the most important thing, right? Is to get the most important things done. So Jess says she feels like she has more things that she didn't accomplish than she did. Let me see. Jess, I think I'm with you with that. Okay. Like I think literally I am too. I did 10 things and I have 10 things I didn't do. Whoa. Okay. So I'm like split. And I also have a bunch of habits on my habit tracker that I like totally ignored. You guys may have seen my 5 habits I'm swapping video. I'm doing really good on that. But I haven't been like working out and I'm thinking that I might be reevaluating that habit anyway. Everyone sets the habit to work out at the beginning of January, but I just think that I should just let myself off the hook for it and be like, you know what? You're a very active person in terms of running around the house. So maybe that's enough for now. And I also didn't clean my house as many times as I should have. I'm trying to get into like a more regular house cleaning schedule as opposed to what I do now is when it looks really messy, I clean it all. So those are things I didn't do. Okay, so let's go on to the next question. I don't want this to be super long. What roadblocks to productivity did you face last month? So external interruptions, or what I call OPP, other people's priorities, lack of self-accountability, or any fire drills, right? So if you're not familiar with the term like fire drills, people sometimes, this is like a corporate term, that's how I always heard it referenced. They'll always say if they're putting out fires, running fire drills, if like the work that they're doing always seems to be things that like it's due right now or is due yesterday, and they're so far behind that they're always playing catch up. So Serena said she had a lot of emergency things pop up this month. So you didn't get a lot of a pre-planned task done, but overall it was a very productive month. And Serena, I'm totally with you on that. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted like briefly about this. I had 3 emergency home issues that happened in January. Well, one of them was a carryover from December, but it was like it wasn't like the truest emergency. There was a leak in this roof above me. And my roof is weird. Like part of our house is 2 stories, part is like 1 story. So the 1 story part had leaks coming in, and we had scheduled to have that roof like fully replaced. And then we had, remember when I don't know if you guys, I'm in the Northeast, and it was very cold. Maybe, was it like 2 weeks ago? Was it last week? I'm horrible with time. When we had that really, really cold front or whatever, once it thawed out, my front spigot burst, and we don't have an off valve for that. So one day I just went to the front, and the whole front of my house was water. There was like water everywhere. And I didn't even hear it because I had headphones on, like I was working at my computer over like back here. And when I went to like go out to run an errand, it was like leaking. Thank goodness, like I know how to handle this. We've had so many leaks because this house is kind of old. Like I know how to do plumbing basically. So I was able to stop that leak and get it cleaned up. And then we had another pipe burst that's right by my office, where our like the hot water tank is in a room right off my office. Like its own little, like a closet, I guess. And that burst in the middle of the night, and Starbucks woke us up, and my whole office was underwater. Not very much water, but it was a lot for 4 o'clock in the morning. And we cleaned it up and turned the water off. Plumber came back, fixed the issue. I had to throw out my beautiful rug. So I just got a new rug that I'm trying to like train to lay down flat right now, because it's not. So, you know, sometimes, as they say, bleep happens, right? Shit happens. So, yeah, Starbucks to the rescue. He was to the rescue. He's very good at telling us when things are right or wrong. So yeah. And the good thing about that was like very overwhelming, like to have to deal with like so many things like in a row. But then I felt like super lucky that it was minor stuff that didn't cost a lot of money, you know, like it wasn't expensive. You know, being a homeowner, like, geez, if like, what is that? The air conditioning unit, if that goes, I know that would be expensive, you know? So there's that's just like, you know, examples from life. So I felt very happy that although it was a lot of drama, it was manageable. Fire drills are when you are kind of in a place where you're so behind on your work that the work that you actually get to in a day always seems to be things that are like emergencies. Like I asked you for this report last week and it was due yesterday. Where is it? And you're like rushing to get that done. You know what I mean? Like where you're only doing work that is due right now, as opposed to like the best way to do work, right, would be, and I don't know if there's really a word for this. It's the opposite of fire drill, I guess. Is like the way I like to do my work is I start my work early, right? Like I work on different parts of a project that's due at a certain time. So like when I'm working on things, it's before the due date, you know, which would be normal, right? You want to get your work done before the due date. But some people get into a place where they're always feeling behind, right? Like they get overwhelmed. They have a lot on their plate and they are only kind of working from behind, putting out fires. Yep. So next question. Yes, being proactive. Okay, so I think you guys got that. So I think it's always good to identify what these things were that happened because, for example, this house stuff, right? The house stuff is not going to be something that happens to me every week. You know what I mean? It's not something that's going to be, it threw off an entire week, right? Where I was not able to get very much done, but I threw it off, right? So that's something that I know is not my fault, right? It's kind of like act of God sort of thing, right? Where you can't take that personally. You can't feel bad in that situation. Like I cannot feel bad in that situation that I wasn't able to get work done, you know, because something happened that was out of my control. But there are things that you might find that like maybe you know that you maybe got really, maybe you're feeling like really lazy and not wanting to do your habits, you know, like maybe other things popped up that distracted you. It's really important to identify those sorts of things that pop up and kind of throw you off your game, because yes, they may have interrupted you this time, but if you learn from that pattern, you can prevent it from like hurting you in the future. You know what I mean? Like, you know how to handle it in the future. So that is why I think it's really important to understand the situation, right? You can't feel bad about your productivity if something happened outside of your control, but you can take responsibility if you know that you were, you know, sleeping in late, you know, for really no good reason, or spending way too much time watching YouTube videos or something like that, which I'm also guilty of very often. So just important to understand like where you're coming from. And I'm trying to check the comments here. Kit says she always feels that way. I find it extremely hard to live in the present when I'm always trying to get caught up. Exactly. So that's the thing, right? Like, how do you live in the present moment when you are always trying to get caught up? And that is like a situation that you need to recognize and see the patterns in it. You need to see the patterns in what you are doing, right? And sometimes for people, the answer is, in order to get yourself to the present moment, you might just need to say, you know what, I have to let go of all these things I thought I needed to do and refocus. And I think that that's what planning your month out can do, right? Sometimes we think there's things that we have to finish before we get to new things. And you have to see, like, there's really so much of what we do is not the things that we absolutely have to do, right? So that's what planning the month out can give you, a fresh opportunity to look at the month ahead and say, okay, forget about everything in the past. What actually needs to be carried over, right? So next question, what insight can you take away from these roadblocks to learn how to plan better for the future, right? So I kind of already went into that. So how can you learn from what happened and be better next time, right? In events of like natural disasters, or like, I don't know, if a tree fell in through my window, right? Like, and they have to come do work on my house in emergency. It's not my fault. Like, there was nothing I could have done to prevent that, right? So other than maybe proactively watching the trees, but I mean, I still think that's like an act of God sort of thing. So, you know, but if it's something where you know that you were, like maybe you had a goal, because it's January, and I feel like this is the easiest one to do. Everyone talks about weight loss goals. Your goal was to like be on a diet, right? Eat a certain way, right? Well, if you totally flaked on Sunday meal prep, right? And you ended up eating out during the weeks a lot, right? Well, now you know, like, okay, that's why the diet didn't go well, right? So what do I have to do to fix this problem? Well, meal prep, that's it. Like, a few hours of meal prep on Saturday or Sunday or whatever your start of your week is, you know, right before your week starts, that'll go a long way to helping you to make sure you don't have to eat out and you can stay on your diet, right? So it's a lot of that. So if anyone has any examples you want to walk through, we absolutely can do that. But I think hopefully you guys understand this idea that we want to review this information to understand how we can plan better in the future and identify the places where we kind of went wrong so that we can really focus on making sure they get done in the future. And then final question here is, what in progress or new projects did you want to work on for this month, right? So things that are on the, like everything that you didn't get done in January, what do you need to pull over into February or whatever month you're watching this? What do you need that didn't get done from last month that needs to be pulled into this month? And then, what other things are on your plate in terms of things that are scheduled to be done. So one of the things that I have in my planner is I do have my project. I have a project tracker, my yearly goal and project tracker, where I map out where all my projects are going to be. I wish I could show you a blank one right now. I don't want, there are some sensitive things in here that I don't want to share, but let me see if I can just pop over this real quick, because that's really the only thing that matters. It's probably not good to show that, but here you go. I'm sure you guys have seen this before, right? Right. So this is my yearly tracker, right? So I've got my monthly and my quarterly things that I need to get done, and then things for like the full year that are like broken out into 2 half-year boxes. So that's where I go right before when I'm doing my monthly planning to see what I need to work on for the month ahead. So definitely write those things out. don't even know what question we're on here. Last question, at least. That's it. Let's see. So we're going into February. I know what I'm doing here. Okay. Okay. So I'm just writing those guys out. Those guys will need to be anything that's written in for my February box, essentially, and then also in my midterm project box that hasn't gotten done yet. And then the long-term, my long-term, I actually use it for something different. So right now, but so yeah, I will pull those projects will need to go into my master task list for the month. Okay, so that was the monthly review part where we're reviewing questions. Again, we're like more than 30 minutes into this class right now, just going slow for the point of you guys. But let me see if anyone has. Okay, so Dara says, I have great intentions, but sometimes my anxiety makes me feel so overwhelmed that I just say F it and I don't do any of it. So relatable. Something I would recommend in that situation, I think I also want to go here. Serena says anxiety and chronic pain are a big productivity killers for me. And she says she tries to have grace with herself. Progress, not perfection. Absolutely. So for both of you, I think like at least in the anxiety department of that, if you haven't seen my mind control techniques video, I think it's called like the 5 brain states. It's the 5 brain states. Anxiety comes from a very real place that tends to be, it's one of the brain states, the beta brain state, that actually ends up causing a lot of anxiety for people, right? So there are people who have true anxiety and depression disorders, right? If that's the right word to use. I'm never sure how I'm supposed to say things, and I don't want to offend anyone who do struggle from things like diagnosed clinical situations. But you know, a lot of times people have anxiety and depression, things that are, you're not clinically depressed or whatnot. You go through periods, right? That's totally normal. And anxiety as well. And it's something where very much that your brain, you have actually gotten yourself to be in a brain state that is way too high for way too long. So in that, my recommendation to anybody, right, who is dealing with anxiety, depression, and especially anyone who has chronic pain, chronic illnesses, and even temporary illnesses, right? Like even like you got sick, like you just caught a bug, right? You need to focus on self-care first. And I know so many people must hear that and it goes in one ear, out the other. It definitely did for years and years and years. Even when I was telling everyone to do self-care, it was in one ear, out the other for me as well. But the idea is that you really have to work on getting yourself stabilized in order for you to be as productive as possible. And for a lot of people, that means making sure you are sleeping enough and doing everything you can to prioritize your sleep and to make sure you're going to bed. Like if you need to go to bed earlier, if you need to, you know, make sure that you change your nighttime routine so that instead of falling asleep with the TV on, you're falling asleep like naturally, maybe doing some reading. I am a very major proponent of, I don't use lights in my house at night unless I have to, right? So if the sun is not naturally out, I will not allow there to be lights on, like for just to be on, right? Like right now I've got lights on, sun is out, it's okay. Because our bodies definitely sense the light, like we are light sensitive beings. And I do think that there is something to modern electricity throwing people's bodies and their rhythms off if at nighttime, right? Like once it gets dark outside, especially now in the winter, we turn on the lights inside and our body senses that light. Like our body doesn't know the difference that it's not the sun, right? Obviously there are different things that we're getting from the sun that you don't get from lights in your house, but your body doesn't know that. Like your eyes can't tell the difference, right? So your body is going through different processes thinking it's daytime. And that's a lot of times why I think people can't fall asleep at night. Something as simple as that you leave lights on in your house when it's dark outside, right? So I keep my lights off unless it's like in the kitchen and I'm cooking dinner real quick, right? Or if I have to do something, use the restroom, need the light on, right? But other than that, I keep my lights to a minimum, and I just have candles, you know, or other like low lighting that helps my body to fall asleep. So whatever you can do to help yourself fall asleep, go to sleep, take care of yourself. Like sleep is the easiest self-care thing you can do. And it's the most important and restorative because, again, in that brainwave video, I talk about this. When you are in deep sleep, you are in delta brainwave, and delta is the only brain state, the only one where your body detoxes, loses weight, heals itself. Like I think it's probably most people know that your body, your cells are always regenerating, right? And like right now, all of us right now, no matter what your any diagnosis you have cells in your body right now that are probably some like either precancerous or cancerous cells, and our bodies eat them up. Like our bodies normally eat those things up and get rid of them. But then if you're not sleeping enough, if you're not in the delta long enough, because delta is the only place that happens, like you heal, like your wound healing happens while you are sleeping, right? You will, if you're not sleeping enough, this is when issues arise. Like this is why you can't lose weight, because you're not sleeping enough, and your sleep is what your body needs in order to process your weight loss. If you have a lot of anxiety and you are not getting enough restful, you're going to wake up in the morning tired, exhausted, anxious, because your body did not get a chance to regenerate overnight. So I've been asked a question: how do you deal with getting things done and folks undoing what you've done? I need you to give me an example. I'm going to need an example of that. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next thing while I'm waiting for that question to come in. The next thing you have to do, obviously, is add dates to your calendars, okay? So if you've got a blank monthly calendar for the month, right? And I'm thinking of things like holidays, events, scheduled tasks, or appointments, or reoccurring tasks. Anything that you need to fill in, that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to fill in dates. Now, I actually have some things already written in, but it's just video ideas. Like I rough kind of schedule video ideas in. But my calendars all come super blank. Like there's no default holidays in my planners. So you write those in yourself, basically. So like February 14th is Valentine's Day. It's also my dad's birthday. You're not watching this, Dad. I know you're not. So, but happy birthday in the past for the future. So like today is Super Bowl Sunday, if you wanted to write that in. I have certain dates that are for bills that I like to just mark off in my monthly calendar, which are, just want to double check with last month. Yeah. And for those sorts of things, I just use like icons because you don't have the most space usually in these boxes. So I just use an icon in which I know what it means. It means I've got a bill that I need to make sure I pay, because most of my bills are on auto pay. So I don't think about it, but there's a few where you just have to keep an eye on yourself. So if you need to track your paydays or trash days, recycling days, if you have other family members' schedules that you need to be aware of, for example, now my rule of thumb for this is always that you don't want to schedule things in that you really don't have an action for, right? But for example, like if your child does soccer or like some sport and you need to keep that in your monthly calendar, so because you're responsible for dropping your child up and dropping them off and picking them up, that's helpful. Okay, so Kit says, for example, you organize a space and your husband repeatedly disorganizes the space. I would say that is a situation where you probably need to have a conversation with your husband about the priorities for that space, right? And the organization for that space. Obviously, like when you share space with anyone, like a spouse, a sibling, parents, whatnot, roommates, right? You guys have to get on the same page about what your goal is for how you want to keep the space, right? And if you guys are off on that, like a resolution needs to be come to. But I would say like for things like, let's say you clean the bedroom and then husband makes it messy. That just might be something where you have to take the loss on it. You know what I mean? Like there are probably bigger fish to fry you know what I mean, in your life than cleaning, right? So I'm sure, and I'm like, by no means have any experience like being a marriage therapist, but like I would think like, you know, like they're being married, there are things you have to compromise on, right? So sometimes this might have to be a compromise. If you're dealing with someone at work, I would say, who might be you're doing work and they're undoing it, again, conversations, communication is what's going to solve that, right? And it may mean that you have to maybe bring a boss in or a third party to mediate, but clearly there is a process that isn't being followed, that one person has one idea of the process and another person has a different idea, and it's not in sync, right? So this is why it's so important that you get people in sync with whatever goals are mutually shared, right? Because if you're not in sync, you guys aren't going to have the same results. So I always think it's so interesting that like, like that people don't think that like you need to talk to other people, you know, your goals, although you're planning them yourself, some of them are not your own, you know? So if you share a home with someone else, and one of your goals is to keep your house clean, then you need to get them on board with it or adjust your expectations. Because sometimes people like us, we will overreact because our expectations aren't being met, even though they're nobody else's expectations but our own. So sometimes we have to adjust our expectations if they're too out of control. So I hope that answers that question. Definitely, communication is key. So got all those dates in, hopefully. We'll move on to the next thing, which is the master monthly task list. Now, I realize that most planners don't have a master to-do list. My planner does. This is like an essential part of my planner. And the master monthly to-do list is the place where I list out all the things that I want to get done in a month, right? So I'll show you mine right now because it's more or less blank. There are certain things that kind of always just go in there. So for me, like every month, I like to perform a brain dump. I haven't done that yet. I will do that probably after we're done today's class. I like to plan the month, right? We're doing it right now. I like to mark off, I figure out how many Sundays there are in a month, and then I put the video ideas in. So like for today, today's the first Sunday of February. So I'm doing a plan with me. So I can write that in and check it off, right? And we'll check that off. Boom. And then usually in my month, you know, and these are just things that I personally do. So this is not going to apply to everyone, but usually I have something for like an opt-in, like some freebie or something that I'm working on to give out, you know, and something like a funnel for my business that I'm working on, just because I'm kind of always working on funnels perpetually. So I just kind of have placeholders sometimes for certain things where I'll inject those in and then fill them out as appropriate. But then we also want to go ahead and add the tasks that are carryovers from last month that we definitely want to do this month. And then anything that is on a project or task list, a project list for, like I said, when we looked at my yearly calendar, I have things that are scheduled for February and for Q1 that still need progress. So we'll write those things out. And then any other known tasks, like any other extra things that might not be project related. A good example is last month, my car registration and inspection were due. So that was like a to-do on my list. So just other things you might know you need to do get put onto the master to-do list. And then as things pop up, if something new pops up, you put it on your master to-do list. If it's not something that you would just do during your week, like very quickly, you know, if it's something that's a little bit, maybe like a little bit more intense or a little bit more, but you have to keep a track of it. I put it on the master to-do list. So we can go ahead and fill out our master to-do list. Master task list. There's some other things written out over here. I did a little bit of prep for this video or this class. Because it's hard to talk to you guys and teach and then remember all my to-dos too without messing up, right? Oh, so what I was saying though about master task list, although most planners don't have one, I'm trying to think, like, there are some planners that just have like a notes sheet in your monthly. I'm thinking like, I know the Erin Condren I think does, has like a blank, maybe they changed it. Is it a dashboard now? I don't know. I'm not always 100% on all of the planners, but if you have like a blank page, right, of your planner around your monthly or something like that, that would be a great place for you to write it in. If you are using some sort of bound planner. If you don't, like if you have a happy planner that you can add a note sheet in and just put a monthly master task list, I think it's a great way to stay organized between, you know, we can have millions of different lists in our life, and especially someone was saying that they brain dump every day. When you know, that's all this information coming out of your brain, and you want to keep track of it, and it's important, but not all of it needs to be worked on right now. Not all of it needs to be worked on this month. I get so many ideas, you know, all the time for things, and it has to be, I love that I need to track it, right? But I need to put it where I think it belongs, right? So that it's not cluttering up, because no one wants to look at like a 5-page to-do list that has things for all year on it. You want to look at what's important now, and that helps you stay focused and prioritize your energy so that you're being most effective. So, no, Kit, I don't have any videos on funnels. That's like a business thing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move on just so for time's sake here. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is to identify our weekly tasks. Now, what I mean by this is something that I like to do is, and if you've ever seen my month on 2 pages here, I'm going to show you. What I do is I like to choose like 3 to 5 individual tasks, either from like basically usually from my task list that I just wrote out, to assign to each of my weeks. So the way that I do this is that I'm breaking out my to-dos. So I'm kind of mapping when I expect to be working on them. And this helps me to sort of like set my weekly like top 5, what I'm doing, you know, for each week, right? Because it's really, sometimes when we put like a to-do on our, or like something that might be like more project related on our master task list, it's like, okay, well, when am I going to be working on this? And what's the order of operations? Like, am I going to work on this at this time? I'm going to work on that at that time. So what I like to do is, and I'll show you a blank monthly real quick. Let me go to a totally blank month. Anything here totally blank? October is totally blank. So you can see here, I have, instead of having a plain notes column, which many months on 2 pages have a notes column, right? Mine is converted into like a checklist for my planner, right? Because I like to use these check boxes, right, to say 3 things that I'm going to do in the given week, right? So they're here, they're right before the Monday. And so I would write down 3 things that I'm going to do in that week from my to-do list. So here, I actually already had written this one in here. Is that okay? So here you can see I've already started putting things in for February. There were things that I was mapping out at the end of January. So I have like 3 tasks listed. So these are like things that I know I need to be working on this week. Or yeah, that week that just ended, right? Because this is this week that we're in. So these were things that I needed to work on this week. And so I will list what I need to do this week, next week. Does that make sense? So hopefully you have a note section on your monthly. That's a great place to put it. If not, you might be able to write it in like somewhere adjacent on your calendar, or if you know that, I don't know, like Mondays, you don't have things on Monday or something, like you can write it in for you. I'm so glad you guys are finding this valuable. Yeah, I know that this is like a little bit, like it's a kind of a long video. It's a little bit tedious to like be doing all of this at once, but I'm hoping that you guys can, like, it helps to see me do it and to understand my process better than just doing like a video. I think it's easier. So I'm glad that you guys are appreciating this. So yeah. Someone said, I need a big funnel that would funnel all my to-dos to someone else and they would do them. I think that's called hiring an assistant. Yeah, so there's only, in my planner, there is space for only 3 in the monthly. And I've had people question me, like, why do you do 3 on the monthly? And then one of my things that I do is my weekly top 5 to-dos. That's just because of me. Like, I have chosen 5 because there's 5 work days in a week. And so I like to feel like I'm moving projects forward every day that I'm working. But I do think it's probably easier to stick to 3, you know. The point is not the number, it's the prioritization. It's that you're not, at the start of your week, you're not necessarily looking at your entire master task list and saying, okay, what am I doing? You've got it broken out that I'm working on these 3 things. It would be important for me to do these 3 things first. Then I can work on these things. Then I can work on the next and the next. Edie said, how can I use the project planning bundle? In what sense? Like, to do this? Because right now we're not walking through project planning. I'm walking through the monthly. So the project planning bundle, I will say though, just thinking about this now, if you have the project planning bundle that has like a master calendar for like a monthly, it has your master task list in it. So after you've broken out your projects in your project planning pages and put them on your master tracker, your project tracker for the year that I showed a little bit earlier, then you would take those items, and that was the previous step when we were talking about the master to-do list. That to-do list with there's that one that has got like the calendar on it. If you're familiar, Edie, with what I'm talking about, you will have you'll have space to put in a master to-do list. So you can have a general list of items, and then you can also have things, if certain things have due dates, you'll be able to put in like due dates or schedule in the dates you want to work on certain things on that insert. So that's a way to use it. So the project planning bundle, for anybody who's not familiar, if you're using another planner system, like a Day Designer, or something that's bound, usually is what I'm thinking about with this. But even, I guess, an unbound too. But if you already have like a calendar system and you want to add project planning in to your planning process, which is part of my planning process, I have a bundle that gives you my project planning sheets, that yearly goal tracker that I showed you, where I break out my projects. I call them goal tracker, project tracker. I have to make sure I stay like specific because I know I confuse people. And then it has an insert that is a monthly master to-do list that also has a calendar. So, okay, great, Edie, that answered it. Excellent. Yeah, so if anyone wants to integrate that into your planning system, you can. I do have like a project planning bundle. If you already have like calendars and like monthly, weeklies that you like to use, no problemo. The project planning kit covers that as well. So that kind of helps you integrate more functional planning. Yeah, I totally wish that teachers would have taught this in school too. Like, this is like my biggest like gripe with the world right now. So yeah, so you highlight those for the week so you can go ahead and break those up for your week, what you need to work on. So 3 to 5 things I think is good, just so you have a focus and prioritization. And then the next thing is to outline habits. So you'll want to outline the key habits of importance that you want to ensure that you do regularly. And so I use the habit tracker that's in my planner, but you can also list these on a sticky note and carry it from like week to week, or you can make a list in your weekly pages. So my planner has, here, I'll show you guys this. There we go. It's already started. Again, I already started filling certain things in. A blank tracker that you can write in your habits. Or another way you can do this is, there we go. Show you guys here. I've got like a sticker that I use that's a habit tracker, right? You could do that. Or you could like literally just list it out on like a little sticky note or whatnot, or just write it in your planner. There's so many ways that you can track your habits, but I do recommend tracking your habits, however that works out for you. I can take that off. Okay, good. One way or another, right? So what I like to do on my monthly tracker is, like, I've got the things that are important to me, including those like 5 habits that I'm swapping. I also think it would be great if you're someone who's trying to work on a morning routine or an evening routine to like list out the elements of that routine, and you can check off every day that you've done it. There's a lot of different things that you can do. So it all depends on what you personally are working on and what your personal goals are. Again, going back to that example I used earlier, if you're someone who's like trying to lose weight and you're struggling to, you eat out a lot, right? Because you get busy and life gets busy and you don't have meals planned or whatever, then maybe what you want to track is pick a day of the week and like a block of time that is going to be your meal prep day, and you do the thing on that day and you track it in your planner. So that can be very helpful for you if you're trying to work towards goals, because usually our habits are the things that kind of stand in the way of our goals a lot of times, right? We have to change our habits in order to get different results in our lives. So if you can identify what the habits are that need changing, then you're good. And you just need to track them. Just need to figure out what you're going to do and track them. Make a plan, track them. So next, okay, so that was the last thing, okay? So what do you think? You guys already said, that some of you already said that planning your month with me and learning the strategies helped you to create the functional plan. That's excellent. I'm glad that this was helpful. I do have a little bit more. Let's see. I'm just gonna, for a second, I'm gonna go into full screen to do this part. You guys should see it, okay? So I hope that this was helpful for any of you who are watching live or anyone who's watching in the replay. Please make sure to leave questions. I am absolutely here to help you, as I was for the people who came live. So something I just wanted to ask you guys is why did you show up today, right? I'm sure everyone has a different reason. There are a lot of different struggles that people have issues with, right? So maybe you struggle with planning, so you're looking for a planner system that works for you. Maybe you struggle with time management and you want to learn how to complete more in less time and with less stress, which I'm all about. Perhaps you struggle with executing. You want to overcome some bad habits and establish some productive routines for success. Or you struggle with focus. You want to get clear on your priorities and put boundaries around them so that you have times for the things that matter to you. Or you struggle with balance. You want to achieve personal tasks and goals along with some other key priorities. Like, these are very common issues for people who, are struggling with planning, struggling with their productivity, trying to make their life a way that they want to see it, right? So where do you feel like you fall in this after kind of going through our conversation? You can feel free to leave a comment. But just know that I'm here to help you through this process. Like today, we did this free class and we walked through the process where I'm actually able to interact with you and work with you and teach you my strategies and make sure you're understanding them. I do have the tools, strategies, and skills that you need to manifest success and satisfaction in your life. So if you haven't found Planner Piece yet, just putting it out there, the Charmed Life Master Planner is an ideal solution to help you manage your daily life alongside your goals and projects. As you saw, it's the planner that I use. It comes as a print-on-demand file in 3 sizes: personal, half letter, and letter size, or A5 and A4. And it also comes as a bound book in dated and undated versions. You can see the undated version is pictured, the black one, and I'm using a 2019 dated version. I also have a lot of different inserts, and I already mentioned that project planning bundle that you can use to supplement. So if the planner, my monthly and my weeklies aren't like your style, no problemo. I have other inserts that you can purchase and add to your system if you're using an unbound, more of like build your own system, like a Filofax or a KKK, or if you're someone who uses a disc bound, something like that, in the most common of sizes. Like I said before, Happy Planner, something else. But if you have, other disc bound systems, then they can definitely work. My inserts definitely work with them, and it can help you to build a more functional planner system than just having a calendar and like weekly or daily pages. Now, we're in February now, so if you haven't set your goals yet, right? So if you're like you were going through this process and you're like, ooh, what do I want to work on? What are my goals even to be? Like, what projects am I working on? I do have my You Got This goal setting and planning workbook. It's my best-selling guide that can help you get clear on your goals and projects for the year. If you have not yet checked this out, I highly recommend it. It is so helpful for people. It teaches you a little bit about planning, but mostly about setting your goals and identifying the things that you want to go after, and then helps you to help you get organized in your life around your goals so that you get more of the things that you want in your life. So it's a print-on-demand PDF, and it also has a special 1-hour video introduction. And it's 132 pages of lessons with 16 activities and 18 helpful worksheets. And if you struggle with all 5 of the issues, right, then definitely the way to go if you're serious about improving your productivity. The Productivity and Planning Mastermind is a complete on-demand productivity course. So it contains 6 video modules with downloadable worksheets and weekly activities. There are bonuses, class discussions, and different special classes that I've added that you will get the replays to. And the course is housed on a dedicated members-only website, and it includes membership to the class Facebook group for accountability as well. And so for joining me for this plan with me, I want to give you a special code for $100 off the Mastermind course. The code is Plan With Me, and that's over 30% off the price of the course. The Mastermind, the Master Planner, and You Got This will be linked in the description box of this video. I know right now live, it probably isn't there right now, but in the replay, it'll be there, and you can feel free to message me or head on over to my site, and you'll definitely see. If you go to the Charmed shop, you'll definitely see these things. But I wanted to give this to you guys as just like a special gift for joining me today. And if you are someone who's serious about improving their productivity, sometimes I think a holistic sort of course that covers all of the areas and really goes in depth with not just information, but also, like I said, activities where you can actually sort of practice things out, and worksheets that kind of make it simple, so you're kind of being guided by me instead of kind of trying to figure things out on your own, can be very helpful. So I want to give you this coupon code to use. It's good for you guys for watching this, and feel free to take advantage of it. So that is the presentation part, and I'm going to go ahead right now and get out of full screen, and we'll just do a little bit of Q&A. So I'm going to stop presenting to everyone, not stop the whole thing. Okay. Woo, there's me. Okay, so I'll close out of this. I can close out of this. And yeah, does anyone have any questions? Right now, I don't have the code set to expire. I guess if you're watching this in February, like, you might, use it whenever you need to. The thing with my courses and stuff, you guys, is that I know sometimes with classes and things, people will take them away, or they'll only do them at certain times. This is normally a class that I do live, but I'm giving it to you guys a discount because I'm not doing it live right now, but it is still on demand Like the website's all there, all the content is there, like it's still valuable. There's like a whole course checklist that you can go through and do the class yourself. So I'm going to give it to you guys on a discount for the on-demand version, basically, because I'm not doing this quarter a live version of it. So yeah. So for now, there's not an expiration date set for it. So yeah. So this will be good for a little while if you're considering it. So yeah, like I said, sometimes people only offer courses like when they're live, and generally I only offer this course when it's live, but I've opened it up and just let it be on demand for people to join and go through it all. So yeah, feel free to use that. And feel free, if you're looking for something else, right? Like if you need everything, then I'd highly recommend the course. If you're just looking for like a better planner, you know, I know the planner is mine, like the master planner is mine, but it's mine for a reason because I actually use it. So definitely think it's an amazing system, but I understand that not everyone likes the layouts, right? And I know layouts people can be very choosy about those. And I think for very good reason, because you all know your life and what you need in your planner the best. But the good thing about the master planner is it also comes like in different sections so that you could get the project planning, you can get the brilliant ideas bundle in the back. It all comes separate as well. Yeah, so I'm getting some questions right now about business stuff, which is not like in the umbrella of today's video. So I'm going to just ask if you have those questions, either send me a private message or something like that, because I don't want to take up time. This is like today we're talking about planning and productivity, not like business stuff. If anyone has questions about this process or struggles with things like habits, execution, you can feel free to ask me while I'm here, or if not, we can definitely be on our way. You know, today's a big day for some people. It's the Super Bowl. I'm not particularly excited about the Super Bowl this year. And thank you, Marcy. So she loves my watch band. So this is my Apple Watch, and I'm so sad. This brand is called Bezels and Bites, I think, and they're actually going out of business. They've been like in business forever, doing like cute, like beautiful, not just cute, like beautiful, well-made accessories for like different tech gadgets, like Apple Watch, like Fitbits, things like that. So if you go to their site, they're probably still open. They're having like a major sale. So I like bought out like every one of their watch bands that I wanted because I'm like, well, they're going away. Like, you got to get them. Clara says, how much time should you spend per day planning? So I think that there is no hard and fast rule, to be completely honest. If you're just trying to get into daily planning, like every morning I will review my planner for like 5 to 10 minutes, right? So I think that that's, you know, all you need if you've set your monthly plan. But if you have new plans that you're making, right? Like let's say, like I said, I'm not doing my brain dump right now on camera. Take forever. After I go through my brain dump, I may come up with other ideas that need to be mapped into project plans. And, you know, my planner, like I have like, what is it? I think it's like 40 planning pages, planner like pages for project plans in my bound planner, at least. Like when you get the inserts on demand, you can just print as many as you need. But people are always like 40, like that's so many, like who uses that many? I like already have, I think, and it's only just started February, right? Mind you. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and one's broken out 12. This one's mapped out 12. So I have 12 project plans of my 40 already filled out, or like, this is where this plan is going to go. I come up with new plans all the time that get added into like my projects and things like that. So, you know, if I'm working on something, if I do like a brain dump and then I'm like, oh my God, this is the best idea for X, I will go ahead and map it out, even if it's not something that I necessarily need to be working on right now. If I'm getting the idea and the inspiration, I'm totally someone, like I said earlier, I do not want to lose that. I want to keep track of it, even if it's not something for me to do right now. Like if it's just a rough idea, I might just leave it in my brain dump. But if it's something where I have like a little bit of a vision for what I would want to create, I would do a whole project plan. And that could take a little while, right? Like if I have time in my day, obviously, like I'm not going to let that sidetrack my other things. But I mean, if you're asking me in terms of how much time should you spend per day, after you've done this monthly planning and then every week on like a Sunday as well, today I will also make sure to go in and fill out. We've kind of already done the outline for this, right? Like by adding the 3 to 5 things that we want to do this week, I'll go ahead and set my week up. And then from there, it's just about checking your planner. And if any new information needs to be added, you add the new information and handle it accordingly. And for me, I feel like I'm always planning something, you know, like I'm always updating project plans. I'm always brain dumping and breaking out like a new plan and doing like a brainstorm, right? All the time. It's just a part of my process, the way that I take information out of my head and get it organized. So I don't think there's a hard and fast rule. But if you've done the plan for your month and your week, every day you should just be checking it at least, you know, in the morning for a couple of minutes. Kit, I think it was, said that she brain dumps every day. If in the morning I think of something, I will put it on a brain dump list, you know, like I don't necessarily sit every day and do like an hour brain dump, but whatever you're thinking of in your head, it's good to have it on paper. Even if you're not even going to act on it, right? Even if you have no plans to act on the thing. When I do my brain dump later, I'm going to write down all the things that I'm thinking of, because downloading it out of my head and onto paper is going to help my brain actually function better, so that when I get time, you know, becomes time to do work, that I'm actually executing. Okay, so it looks like I have a question here. I have the same to-do list, to-dos showing up every month. How do I get through these? Is it that they're not as important, or am I trying to do too much? I feel like a failure when I copy the same list. You know, it's funny, you're asking me, but I want to ask you that question. Is it that they're not important, or do you feel like you're trying to do too much? Now, technically, what I would say is that if you have the same things and they keep getting carried over, I would think that they probably aren't as important. Because, or maybe you're so far ahead that you haven't even reached the stage of them being fires that you need to put out, like fire drills. So that's what I would say to Yem 88. You need to answer that question. You know, what is the reason you're not? So, and I will be completely honest, I'm also guilty of putting things on my to-do list and moving them from month to month, because they're things that it's like, aspirational. Maybe they're just like something extra. You're like, it would be really great. Here's a good example. It would be really great if I could KonMari my whole house this month, right? Does it absolutely need to be done? No, like for me at least, like I'm not in a hoarded home, right? So it's absolutely not necessary for me to go through a project of that magnitude in any given month, right? Now, if I'm having family and people come over in like Christmas time and they're staying over and I'm like, oh, you know, I really need to get the house a little bit more organized before people come. Yeah, then it might actually become more relevant at that time for me. So maybe in like December or November, I might actually execute on it, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping track of the things that you want to do, but you might just want to like dedicate a list to like someday maybe, right? For me, that's like my brain dump list. If I leave things on a brain dump, I don't necessarily have to do anything with them, but if they are something, for example, a lot of times my brain dumps would be like, half my brain dump list usually is video ideas, right? So then I will review that once I'm done, and I will decide if it's going to be, like I'll put it on a video list, right? But if it's random information or random things I'm thinking about that, yes, it would be great in a wonderful, perfect world, I would be able to do X, but it's not necessarily necessary. Does that make sense? Like, and again, this all depends on your priorities, right? So for me, like having my house perfectly organized isn't a high priority for me, but for someone else, it might be. Let's see. Teresa says, do you have any suggestions for overcoming procrastination and getting things done? Have you seen my videos, Teresa? Yeah, I've got a lot of different, I think I have a video on procrastination too. So I would say that definitely check out my other videos. Right now, I would say that procrastination, I think it depends on what it stems from. This is like procrastination could be that you are not interested in doing something, right? Like maybe that example that Yem said, she's moving things over, like continues to move them. Is it because they're really not important? Is it because you're afraid to do the thing, right? This happens very often, that people are afraid to have the thing that they want, reach the goal that they want. Like it's a totally natural, like human thing that happens. So I think the first thing is to identify why you are procrastinating. And if you know it's procrastination, right? Like, you know it's procrastination. It's not that you're getting overwhelmed and not getting to it, right? You should ask yourself, why am I doing this? And there's this thing, was it called 7 levels? I think it's called 7 levels. I think so. You should ask yourself why 7 times. And basically for what you're trying to do. So like, why am I trying to do this? And then you give yourself an answer. And then you say, why are you trying to do what that answer is, right? And then you'll have a third answer. Why are you trying to do that? Another answer. You ask yourself why 7 times. And hopefully you've come to a deep enough answer that you're like, oh, darn, I really need to do this right now. And if you're not, then maybe it's just not that important to you. Like, it is totally normal for people to have things that they put on their list that they are going to ignore because they have no, like maybe it's an external expectation. It's something else. It's like not truly something that is motivating them. But then again, if it's your taxes and you have to get them done, you have to get them done, you know? So in that case, I would highly recommend just scheduling in the time to get it done, right? So like if for the example of the taxes, you know, procrastinating on those, so many people do that. And the thing to do then would just be to book a session with a tax person to get it done, right? Book it, whatever it is, schedule it, make it happen. But it's complicated, right? You have to figure out why you're procrastinating first. Yeah, so this is the thing though, and Yem replied back to me and said, I don't think that they're not important. Yes, they're aspirational, but other things become more important. Things with kids always pop up. So that is you're being interrupted. You like the idea of separate lists, perhaps. Now, I don't want anyone to think that they should just be making separate lists, right? Because having multiple lists becomes cumbersome. Usually what ends up happening is you work off one list and the other one disappears. Now, if you are struggling with time management because you are constantly interrupted, because let's say children issues or whatnot, that's a situation where you need to start learning how to put together boundaries. And by the way, all of the things that I've said right now are in the Mastermind class, the course. So I have like lots of different strategies, lots of different information, activities about a lot of these things that I'm talking about are like activities in the course that you would go through. So that looks like your issue there. And then Yem is that you're having issues with time management because you have a lot of interruptions. Yes, asking yourself 7 times, getting in touch with your inner toddler. Yep. What'll end up happening is if you don't have a really good reason, you're gonna like peter out with that why pretty quick, you know? But if you can make it to 7 and you can like hold it out, you're probably gonna get in from the idea with the 7 levels is you start from like a very logical brain oriented state. Like, why do you want to KonMari your house? So that my house is organized, right? Like, duh, right? But then what you might end up happening is you end up getting deeper with every question and you get more heart-centered. So it goes out of logic and goes into like your real heart reason why. And without a heart reason why, a lot of people don't do anything. So that's why they say things like, and this is in the course too, that like, you know, people tend to change their lives when something major happens. For example, if like someone has a heart attack, suddenly after that, if they survive it, right? Hopefully they do, they will end up changing their eating patterns. A woman who gets pregnant might instantly stop smoking and drinking because now she has carrying a child, you know? So people are able to do major change when they have a significant reason why. And those are really good examples, like, you know, getting sick or having a heart attack, getting pregnant, you know, those are things where it's like very obvious, right? It's hard to ignore those. But you can always, you know, hopefully you'll be able to find a why for the things that you're doing. And if you don't, it's okay. It's okay to let them go. Okay, so it looks like the comments have slowed down and it's an hour and a half in now. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for coming. I will go ahead right now and add some links to the description box that are not there for the things that I mentioned, for the planners. I'll leave the planners down below and the workbook, the You Got This workbook and the mastermind class. So you guys will have access to those, and feel free to email me or send me a message, and make sure you're following me on Instagram at MissTrenchcoat. And if you're not subscribed to this video, make sure you hit subscribe for more videos, and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and feel free to like grab the URL and share it with friends, family, whoever you know is struggling with planning, because sharing is caring, and I'm sure that they will appreciate that you thought of them. If you guys thought this was valuable, then other people will as well. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.